All right, guys, a fun podcast ahead for you today. Steve's first reaction to watching Jimmy Butler in a Philadelphia 76ers jersey. We will talk about the Warriors and the confrontation between KD and Draymond Green that everyone's talking about. Got Draymond suspended for a game. I've got a lot to say on that matter, so I will get into that with Steve. And also, I have Bill Pidto. You can see him now doing Rangers and Knicks work on the MSG network. He spent 15 years at ESPN. You remember ESPN News. He was the guy. Excited to sit down with him. We got into a whole lot about his career. He gave a lot of great advice on just how to make it in this business. So excited for you guys to check that out. And before we play the music, I just want to say, Karis LeVert, get better soon. We love you here on Terrific Talk. All right, Terrific Talk starts right now.
Welcome to Terrific Talk. My name is Tom Anderson. Tom Anderson.
Back to win back the game. Gone. Back, gone. Tom
Anderson.
Great cash, homie.
I feel ready to go another 9 innings.
Touchdown.
I feel ready to go another 9 innings.
Touchdown.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Terrific Talk Podcast. Welcome back, Terrific Talk Podcast.
Here comes the hoe.
I'm your host, Tom Anderson.
first. Behind the bag. It gets through Butler. Here comes Knight and the Knicks win it.
All right, before we get to Bill Pidto, let's call our man Steve up right now.
Terrific.
There he is. What's up, dude? Are you in an Uber as we speak?
I went Lyft, but yeah, I'm in a Lyft right now.
Awesome.
Heading out of LAX, about to just deal with wonderful LA traffic.
Oh, yeah, you should get home by in like 4 hours. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
You know, at least I'm not dealing with snow.
dude, talking about a long commute, coming home today was not pretty.
Where did the snowfall come from?
I don't know.
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I think this was way more than people expected. We got a decent amount, and I don't think anyone was prepared for it because people were just driving like maniacs and getting stuck in the snow and having to bail out and just abandon their cars, just blocking all the roads into Hoboken. It just absolute chaos today. It was horrible.
Dude, Armageddon.
So I wanted to figure out how can I embarrass you that you're in a Lyft. First of all, this is a historic moment on Terrific Talk. First time a guest has ever been in a Lyft. I want you to do the TD Monster voice. You gotta do it.
Oh yes, the TD Monster. I get touchdowns. Dude, I thought we were gonna be. I thought he was gonna be getting his first touchdown. You know, Mexican touchdowns playing in Mexico.
Right.
But you know, they had to change that game. That's a little. It's a little whack, man. What do you think about that?
It is. The Rams get a home game out of it now. That sucks for the Chiefs. But they said that the field was just a disaster. And,
Yeah.
you know, those are just two of the best teams in the NFL. You can't put them out there on a crap field and have injuries happen. So it is what it is. But it's kind of embarrassing moment for the NFL, to be honest.
It's you know, that would have been cool to bring a game down to Mexico City. Those fans down there for a lot of sporting events are just awesome. Rowdy,
Right.
They get into it. I feel like that would have been a great atmosphere. But maybe next year, maybe they should decide to not play like, you know, every international soccer game that like leads up to it, like right before the NFL is coming in, like for like a historic game.
Yeah, not the best preparation.
Maybe not the smartest idea.
The reason I brought up the TD Monster, other than to embarrass you, is I think he's at 31 touchdowns now. And Heinz Ketchup just came out and said if he gets to 57 touchdowns this season, which would be a record, Peyton's got the record at 55. If the TD Monster can rack up 57 touchdowns, Heinz Ketchup will give the TD Monster free ketchup for the rest of his life.
For life. That's brilliant. I mean, Heinz Ketchup is my favorite.
It's the best ketchup.
It's the best ketchup. Aaron likes to just trash on me because I definitely am I'm a guy that's pretty particular with my condiments.
Yeah.
You know, and particular with a lot of things in terms of food. Like, gotta be Heinz ketchup. I'm not doing like the store-bought signature brand. Gotta be name brand cereals. I don't get like the knockoff things. Needs to be Tropicana. pure premium orange juice. Like any other orange juice just doesn't fly in our household, and she just is accepting it at this point, but just is always like, why do you care? It's like, it's another $1. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's all the same. I'm like, no, it's not the same.
Yep.
Jif peanut butter, like, come on, I can't do Skippy, Peter Pan, like, no.
I'm exactly the same way. I have to have my particular brand. I'm a Skippy guy personally, but I have peanut butter and jelly like for lunch every single day. So I have my Skippy creamy, no reduced fat. The reduced fat tastes terrible. Tastes horrible.
Terrible.
And I have a very particular Stonewall sour cherry jam jelly. That's the only jelly I will put on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's so good. That's all I'll use, though.
I'm going to have to look for that because I'm just like a Welch's grape jelly.
That's what Tori is.
Simple.
Tori's all about the grape.
Love you, Tori.
I can't do that. I need my Stonewall kitchen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that and give it a try. I've never done a cherry jelly on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I've like done strawberry jelly just very, very randomly and very rarely, maybe counted on one hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a two PB&J sandwich a day, grade school, high school. Would do it at TDR all the time. Shout out to TDR.
Shout out.
But yeah, dude, the crazy thing about the TD Monster is I think the franchise record for the Chiefs for touchdowns was 30 in a season, and he eclipsed that in 9 weeks.
Insane. That's why they call him the TD Monster.
The TD Monster. Let's go.
So we were taping this on a Thursday. Jimmy Butler's big debut on the Sixers last night, and a loss to the Orlando Magic, but it's just one game. What is your initial takeaway here?
I was very frustrated watching that game last night because we built up a 16-point lead with about 9 minutes to play.
Right.
And then, they just decided to stop playing basketball. And it's like normally you're kind of like, oh, why not call timeouts in that instance? Like Brett Brown called 2 timeouts too. It's just kind of like it was a section of the game where Joel was out. I think Joel and Jimmy were both out. Ben might have been out. They might have had all 3 of them off the floor at that point. I can't remember. I have to go back and kind of look at the play-by-plays.
I kind of feel like that should never happen, by the way.
It shouldn't.
At least one of them should be out there.
Correct. And, the offense just seemed to stagnate. I want to say Jimmy was on the court, which, it was tough for them because obviously they weren't able to do too much in terms of, like, getting sets in place. I mean, I think he had one shoot around with the team.
Right.
But, like, it seemed like everyone was just kind of standing around watching, and, like, he'd get the ball, and they were just watching him to, like, say, okay, what are you going to do now? Whereas, the normal flow of the offense wasn't happening. So, we had built up a 16-point lead. It ended up that, like, the Magic went up 5. You know what I mean? So, like, there was a 21-point swing in about 5 minutes of the game. I'm not kidding you. Like, they went on a 19-0 run in, like, a 3-minute stretch of the game.
That's what the Magic do, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, they were just burying threes, which, like, I know, like, Evan Fournier, I know Vucevic because he was on the Sixers at one point, but there's, like, names that I'm just not familiar with. Like, Aaron Gordon, obviously, I know him. He's a high flyer. He's got a surprisingly good three-point shot. He buried a couple, but, like, Terrence Ross, I was like, where does this guy come from?
I know.
And they're just now. It looked like the Magic were going to blow it at the end because Evan Fournier had just like a couple terrible back-to-back possessions. Our big 3 got into the game. JJ was in, and we kind of seemed like we caught ourselves and we're gonna eke out the win. And then Terrence Ross again just hits this dagger 3 with like 8 seconds left, and the killer of the whole thing was JJ came back down after out of a timeout. Next play, buries a 3, but he had literally stepped, like trying to get around a pick, stepped on the on the sideline, and didn't reestablish himself in bounds. And it was tough. I mean, it's a tough. Anytime you lose a game like that, which you have well in hand, it's kind of frustrating. Jimmy looked good though. Like Jimmy, what I like about him is he plays that strong man's game. There's a couple times where he just went at anybody who was in front of the rim. He adjusted midair. He absorbed the contact, got the ball up on the rim, two instances didn't get a foul, but got the ball to the rim and scored a bucket. And I think that mentality will serve us well. So, it was interesting. I listened to reading a couple articles. There's I guess Chris Broussard put it out there that one of his sources apparently said something about the fact that he thinks, or the source claims that he thinks that Markelle is done.
Yeah.
Markelle played tough. I mean, he obviously didn't have to get the minutes that he has been getting, but he was playing tough defense.
I feel like Ben Simmons is being forgotten a little bit. In all this. And I don't really get that, because Ben Simmons is really, really good. I know everyone kind of focuses on his shooting, and it's not there, but the rest of his game is amazing, incredible in transition. Ben Simmons is going to be a beast, and I feel like all the attention right now is on Embiid, who's having an MVP type season, and now Jimmy, and he's kind of the forgotten one. Do you feel like that at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I also think that Ben is, because he doesn't score as much, it's kind of like he doesn't grab the headlines.
Yeah.
He's the one, if you're watching games, he's the one when the ball's out of bounds and they're kind of huddling up, that let's say like prepping on D or getting something going on offense, like he is the one calling the shots, and I think everyone on the team looks to him for direction, which he doesn't seem like a guy. I mean, even though he's dating a Kardashian, right? He doesn't seem like a guy that needs the limelight, but and again, I think he's content with knowing his role, knowing the role that he plays, and knowing, like, obviously everyone, I'm sure, internally knows that he's the guy that allows them to tick and flow. The one thing that I've noticed out of him, though, this year is he's not as much on attack mode to the basket, and maybe it's the defense is playing him a little bit better. He did have one awesome give-and-go two-man game with JJ where, he started the three-point line, JJ came off the elbow, out around the screen, and kind of the defense just focused their attention right onto JJ, and as soon as Ben passed the ball to JJ, he just sprinted down the lane, and it was, again, like a 4-foot pass, but JJ laid it off right to him. Ben takes a dribble right up at the rim, takes a foul, gets fouled, finishes at the rim. He is dynamic on that front, but I think because of how he plays, he's never going to look to get his offense first.
Right.
But I'd like to see him maybe be a little more assertive on the offensive end. I think as this new team gels and develops, we'll see a little bit more out of them.
2-7 on the road now, by the way.
I know, dude. It's kind of just total. It's a young team, right? Which I know these guys aren't as young anymore. They've now been in the league a couple of years, but yeah, I hope that at some point they kind of get this figured out. They got to get themselves where they're at least 500 on the road. Philly's home court is strong. They play well at home. I think that obviously they'll finish pretty well above 500 at home. But man, if we got to get above 54 wins, I need a little love here on the road, dude.
1,000%. All right. So end of the day, even though they lost, you're still kind of optimistic on Jimmy and the Sixers team. You're still feeling pretty good.
Oh, long term for sure. Again, the short term is I'm annoyed they lost the game that they, like I said, were kind of controlling.
Right.
There was never one point of that game watching it that I was like, oh man, the Magic, we could be in trouble until, we were up 16 and then they went on a 19-0 run. I was like, what just happened? But, I think long term we're going to be in a good spot. Yeah, right. For sure.
Switching gears to the biggest story in the NBA this week besides Jimmy, the drama in the Bay Area, the Golden State Warriors, just insane what's gone on between KD and Draymond. We all know what happened. Draymond grabbed a rebound at the end of the game. KD's calling for the ball. It's a tie game. KD wants the ball. He wants the final shot. Draymond rushes up the court, turns the ball over. KD freaks out, kind of throws a hissy fit, starts yelling at Draymond. He wanted the ball in that situation. And it spills into the locker room, and Draymond apparently just goes off on KD, brings up KD's pending free agency. God knows what else he brought up, but apparently it wasn't good. And Draymond gets suspended for a game by the team after all of this. What is your initial reaction to that?
Grand.
Yeah, big money there he lost.
I mean, I'm never like the drama person. Like I don't necessarily jump into that fray. You know, like when I see teams do this, I think there is something to this though. You know, because with KD just mouthing on court, that's why I'm gone. You know, Draymond is. We've talked about it. He's like the Rodman. He's a wild man. He's a loose cannon. The thing is, like we're talking about this instance, but there must be something else that
1,000%
goes back deeper that has really allowed this to be the tipping point. Which, you know, maybe I don't know what that could be. You know, maybe the simple fact that, you know, like KD won MVP at the NBA Finals last year. Like I personally felt that Steph should have won it because he basically won them the first 3 games. You know, outplayed everybody the first 3 games of the series, LeBron included. You know, who knows if like comments like matriculate out of something like that. But you know, the one thing about that whole instance that I find kind of bizarre on KD's front is Draymond rips a board down with like 4 seconds left, and KD standing flat-footed, like clapping for the ball. Like, dude, you don't have time to stand flat-footed, clap for the ball, get a pass behind, like back to him, dribble up court, and even get remotely a type of quality shot. So, like in my instance, like Draymond knows basketball. He is the heart and soul of that team. He just, I think, wanted to push the ball, get it up floor, get it up floor. Hope that the Clippers. That's who they're playing, right? Clippers.
Yep.
You hope the Clippers were in disarray and just probably find a guy. Like, KD didn't sprint up the court to try to, like, become open for him. You know what I mean?
No, he could have. He could have moved. He
just stood there.
Yeah, he did.
Stood there clapping. So I just feel like maybe it's a little diva-esque of KD in that instance. And it's early in the year, man. Maybe it was, you know, you hear this talk of being everyone really on at Steph's team. Maybe KD wanted to kind of show him that. What do you think? I mean, like, what was your take watching that?
My take watching it was, I mean, clearly an overreaction, I think, by KD. You hit the nail on the head. There's clearly something else that's been going on there. Like, why would he explode that much after that play? I mean, they're going to overtime. Like, they can easily beat the Clippers. They ended up losing the game after all that. But, you know, felt like a bit of an overreaction by KD. I really was surprised that the Warriors suspended Draymond for a game. We don't know all the facts. We don't know what possibly was said, but I just don't know, like, what could he have possibly done to get suspended for a game because of this? It's clearly an issue of taking sides, I think, between KD and Draymond. Sure. And you know, I get it. You know, Kevin Durant is arguably he's the top 2 player in the NBA right now. He's incredible, even though I kind of think Steph is more important on that team. But I love this Warriors team. I love watching them play. I don't want to see them break it up, honestly. I know a lot of people are super anti-Warriors, super over this super team. I love it. I think it's fun. And one thing that's annoyed me a little bit is how everyone's just trashing Draymond now. Like, everyone said, oh, yeah, he's the heart and soul of the team. But, you know, he's really not that good. You know, his play is worsening. Like, everyone's forgetting Draymond and Steph were the original ones that really made the Warriors special in the first place. Draymond was the first, you know, stretch 4 who could guard every single position out there. He could stretch the floor on offense. Everyone's forgetting that, and I think he's underrated at this point. I don't think it's just so, the team dynamic here is so tough because Steph and Durant are 2 of the best players in league history, and then you're comparing that to Draymond, but his role on that team is still extremely important, and I think he's being underrated, kind of thrown under the bus a little bit by the Warriors. I just feel like Draymond's getting treated a bit unfairly at this point, and everyone's forgetting the importance that he has to that team. And, you know, we talked about it being Steph Curry's team. Where is, I know he's hurt, but where the hell is Steph in all this? I'd like to hear him say something.
I think the leader kind of needs to, you know, if he is the leader, he needs to step up and kind of
diffuse the situation.
Squash things without a doubt. I mean, it's one of those things with Draymond. Like, he definitely seems like the scapegoat. You know, I've been hearing things where it's just like, Steph is the leader, Clay gets the offense, like KD brought them to greatness, Draymond's on the way out. Like, I mean,
it's crazy.
I would argue that of all the teams in the NBA, if they had 5 picks to start a team, like, Draymond would be one of them because of everything he brings, like defensively, with the, yes, maybe sometimes rage, craziness, but like that's a spark plug for teams. And he works his tail off in areas of the game that a lot of people don't want to hustle. You know what I mean?
And his passing is, for his position, is insane. Like
and he can guard the 1 to 5, like you said.
Yeah. I mean,
you just wonder if it's, this team is so bored because they've been to 4 straight finals, and they're kind of, there's just their focus maybe isn't quite there. Where in probably years past they'd be like, oh, dude, listen, like, blah 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 blah. Like maybe now it's so early in the regular season. They just want to get to meaningful basketball. And just a little speed bump, little hiccup, if you will.
Exactly. It's November. The crazy part about this is all the drama. If they stay healthy, it's 100% chance they're going to win the championship. No one's beating them. No one's beating them.
No one's beating them.
It's an automatic championship. End of the day, do you think KD is going to leave after this year?
Man, it's one of those things. I didn't really think that he ever was going to, because I think that like Steph gets locked up. The one I wasn't sure about was Clay, personally.
Yeah.
I felt that those three, like obviously Clay is vital, right? Because he goes off for 14 3-pointers in 3/4 of a basketball game, not even. I don't know. I mean, for KD, because the other thing too is like in those passionate heat of the moment instances, sometimes like you may spout off, but part of what you're saying has some truth to it. If that never happened, I would have been more inclined to lean to the fact that KD would stay, because I think it's like why not do a 2-year deal, win 2 more championships, like keep winning until someone keep going until someone knocks us off, like and is a threat, but he could be on the move. Bring him to Philly, baby. Let's go.
Stop it.
Hey, if we shed some great contracts in that trade, apparently, like, we could potentially be in line that we could have another slot for a max deal. Just saying.
Bye, Jimmy. Hello, KD.
Keep Jimmy. Bring him. Bring everyone.
Stop.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that starting 5?
That would be awful.
Jimmy Butler is the smallest of the 4 at, 6'8" or 6'9"?
It'd be insane. They'd be like the Monstars.
Literally, they would be. 100%.
I don't know what he's going to do. I think it makes the most sense for him to just stay in Golden State, just ride this out and keep winning championships.
Just keep winning rings, man.
But he has taken a lot of heat, and in interviews, it seems like he is kind of sensitive to it. Go win on your own
stuff and all that jazz. Yeah,
it's like the Kobe Shaq stuff. Like Kobe, you got to win it on your own. You couldn't win without Shaq. Durant, you couldn't win without Steph. Like that's a thing, and these players definitely care about that. So he could leave. I just don't know what situation he's going to go leave and just start over. Like that's a big mountain to climb. Like everyone says the Knicks. That sounds like a nightmare. And James Dolan is still the owner. Like, do you really want to go to that situation? I don't think so. It's just stay in Golden State. Everything's gravy.
That's what I would do if I were him. I mean, obviously, I'm not him. I'm clearly not his. Do not have an ounce of his skill set. But it was kind of like the same thing I said with Jimmy Butler to the Nets. Like, why would he, before the Sixers trade, like, why would he want to go and start brand new? Or Kyrie. I think maybe we were talking about Kyrie as well. It's like, why would you want to go and start brand new? Maybe he's kind of looking at it like his brand. LeBron goes to LA. He goes to New York, like East Coast, West Coast, beef. This is where he's going to get max. That's where he would go to get max exposure. But it's just that would be a tough route to go. Through Toronto, through the Celtics, through the Sixers. Whereas like you have a golden ticket every year if you keep this team together, right to the finals.
Yep. And that's another thing. People always mention, KD will go team up with LeBron. I don't think KD wants to do that. I just don't. KD compares himself to LeBron. I don't think he wants to be his teammate.
That happening.
I can't see it either.
I can't see that happening.
All right, dude. Shout out to your Lyft drivers. Doing a great job. And we'll talk.
Shout out to Lyft.
We'll talk in a couple of days, and we'll go more into detail about some of this. But thank you for making this work straight out of the airport there, LAX.
LAX, baby. Going back to Cali.
Kobe.
TTD. TTP. I said it wrong. Damn it. I was thinking TD Monster.
All right, quick break to talk to you about The Athletic. You know, it's funny. I was just checking out Jimmy Butler's interview with The Athletic's Sam Amick. And it's a great read if you haven't checked it out yet. But it gave us a kind of a clear idea of where Jimmy Butler's head was at in Minnesota. You know, one of the best quotes from this interview was he was talking about Thibodeau and his heavy minutes load. And he flat out said that shit has to stop. And it was just great insight into how unhappy Jimmy Butler was in Minnesota. We'll see how things go in Philly now. But just another example of a great piece on The Athletic. The Athletic's got so many great writers. Ken Rosenthal, Jason Stark, Frank Isola, Zach Harper, Lindsey Jones, Jay Glazer, Mike Lombardi. The list goes on. Got no ads, no pop-ups, no audio play videos, and readers get to subscribe to authentic, in-depth coverage written by journalists who know these teams inside and out. Cool thing about The Athletic is the coverage goes way beyond game recaps and trade speculation. They provide smart analysis, deeper perspective about teams in the league, and subscribers have access to local and national content with more than 650 to 700 news stories published every week across all sports. I've got an awesome deal for my listeners. If you go to theathletic.com/terrifictalk, you use that code I just said there, and you get 40% off. You get 40% off. It's just $2.99 a month. That's a great deal for all the great content you'll be reading every single month. Again, it's theathletic.com/terrifictalk for 40% off, just $2.99 a month. Check it out, theathletic.com/terrifictalk. You won't regret it. All right, the MSG Network's Bill Pidto. Thank you for checking out the podcast here on the CLNS Media Network. I've got an awesome guest here for you today. Bill Pidto is an anchor and host on the MSG Network in New York. A lot of you nationally probably know him from his 15 years at ESPN. I appreciate him taking some time to come on the pod today. Let me bring him in here. Bill Pidto, welcome to Terrific Talk.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on with you.
It's really nice of you. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career. I've talked to a lot of broadcasters, and they all talk about how important it is to find your own voice, be yourself. Can you talk a little bit about why that's so important and how you yourself personally got comfortable in front of the camera?
You know, it takes a while. It has to get to the point where who you are off the air is who you are on the air. And I think a lot of people try to be who they think they should be instead of who they are. And it takes years just to be comfortable with who you are and not to be uptight about the surroundings, about the mechanics of the job, because those are things that can detract from the person being who they really are. So I just think it takes a long, long time. A lot of reps, a lot of experience, knowing that whatever happens, not going to throw you because you've been at it for years, that type of thing.
Growing up, who did you kind of try to emulate, and did that ever get in the way of finding your own style?
You know, I really, watching sports as a kid, there wasn't a lot of studio programming back then. I was born in 65, and then as a young kid, you know, it was like the infancy of sportscasting. So most of the people that I used to watch as a kid were play-by-play people. You know, I always loved Al Michaels. I still love Al Michaels. He was just, I just think he's the best to me.
I love Al Michaels too. When you're interviewing someone, what are the right kind of questions you think people should be asking? What do you like to get out of an interview?
One of the things, I was at, as you mentioned, at ESPN for years, and one of the most important thing that an interviewer can do, and they do a great job at ESPN of prepping everybody about how to do it, is to make sure that you ask questions and don't make statements. So you actually ask a question instead of saying, you played well tonight. Don't say you played well tonight. What allowed you to play well tonight?
Right.
It's a fine line, and you don't ask more than one question at a time. So you get away from a double barrel question like, you seem like you really did well on defense. What was the key to that, and what allowed you guys to win? You don't do that in the same sequence. It's one question at a time, phrased as a question. And it's amazing when you look at how interviews are done across all of these platforms, how often it's not executed that way. But that is the most important thing, to ask the person that you're talking to questions instead of making statements.
I know you're working the Knicks pregame show tonight on MSG. Can you take us through your process for tonight?
Yeah, sure. So I have a rundown that the producer, James Castell, puts together, and I'm going to work with Swin Cash tonight and Alan Hahn. And like right out of the gate, we're going to get an opening comment from Swin because she's just joining us tonight because Wally Zerbiak is on the game broadcast. So the point is that all this is choreographed in terms of what we're doing, and I just have to make sure that I am prepared to lead the conversation. There's a lineup change for the Knicks. I have to make sure that I tee these guys up, Alan and Swin, up properly, make sure I have a way to transition. The challenge for the studio host, in my opinion, is to just be able to tie up one topic and then get to the next. So the key thing, I think, always is to be prepared with transitions before you go on the air. I just came in about, we're on at 7:30. I have to be down there at 7 to go to rehearse a little bit, and the rundown I just basically got 10 minutes ago. So I have some make suggestions if I want, but this is the way we work here, and in most TV organizations, as a producer comes up with the content.
You mentioned ESPN. When you look back at your 15 years at ESPN, what do you remember?
I just work with great people. The 90s, I was in the Sports Center rotation. The middle of late 90s, I was the original host of NHL Tonight. In 95 and 96, I worked next to Chris Berman on NFL Primetime. I just had incredible experiences. That was, the heyday, I think, of Sports Center. You could make the case with Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick, and just to be around that and to be in that mix was just an incredible, unforgettable experience.
You personally, where did your passion for sports broadcasting come from?
I'm originally from Manhattan. I ended up moving to the West Coast when I was 7, but being here in New York in the early 70s, the Knicks were great. Joe Namath was famous. The Mets were amazing there. So my dad was really into it. Sports were always on. My first ability to read was a sports page of the New York Times. It was just something that I was just really, really into. I've always been into it. And I've just been lucky to have been able to carve a career out of talking about it.
What are some qualities that you think one needs to have in order to be successful in the media today?
Well, it's now you have to be able to do a lot of different things. I know that when I started out, it was in the late 80s, the goal was to get a big market job at an affiliate station like the ABC affiliate in Chicago or some other big city. But then as it evolved, I'm one of the guys who came along with the career building in the late 80s as a young guy, early 90s, the cable sports exploded on TV. So then the goal became, try to get on a ESPN and then as time has gone on, try to get on one of these cable outlets because there are countless places now to work. So many of us, myself included, owe our careers to the explosion of cable sports TV because of all the opportunities it's presented. And that's how things evolved.
I know you went to Cornell University in New York. Why did you choose Cornell? You studied psychology, right?
Right. So my dad's point to me was, you don't know if you're going to be able to be a broadcaster. His advice was you don't really need to study it because the reality is it's a practical type of experience. You either can or you can't. His advice was to get a well-rounded education. And I was fortunate enough to get involved in student radio. And then Ithaca, the city of Ithaca, started a local newscast. Carl Ravitch and I were actually the original sportscasters on that.
Huh.
And the most important thing was to get a well-rounded education, my dad told me, and then come out of there with some experience. And I was lucky when I came out of Cornell, I actually had a tape from that Ithaca channel to present to the people in Binghamton. And then I got hired in Binghamton right after I graduated. So, it's a kind of thing where I don't know that you need to study this in school, but you need to be able to write and you need to be able to speak and you need to have some type of resume to be able to present to people when you're ready to search for a job.
Absolutely. Last question before I let you go. You got to cover and see Carmelo Anthony up close for many years here in New York. What's your take on what's kind of happened to Melo here?
Well, what's the line? Father Time is unbeaten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Father Time's catching up with him. He doesn't fit if he's not a main piece. Now, I don't know what was going on in Houston here in terms of if he's not accepting his role or if he just doesn't seem like he's shooting well. He doesn't play defense well. But at OKC, it was clear the problem was he was not willing to accept a secondary role, and that did him in there.
Right.
And here in New York, he was still at his height, but he just wasn't the best team guy. Although other players love him, it's all about him, I think, on the court. And I hope he goes out gracefully because he has had a great career.
100%.
But it just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
No, it hasn't been smooth. Bill, thank you so much for coming on today. Everybody check Bill out on Twitter. His handle is at Bill Pidto. Check him out on the MSG network. Good luck with the broadcast tonight, Bill. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was a real pleasure to talk to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.